Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Reality Cut here, and in today's video I'll be taking you through the process of how to cut and sew this beautiful two-piece palazzo pant with a crop top and a side pocket. If this video is a video you're interested in, please keep on watching to the end, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also turn on your notification bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. So basically for this tutorial, this is the Ankara piece I'll be making use of. I have about 3 yards of this Ankara piece, and I will also be needing an elastic band for the waist area of this palazzo that we are making. Now for the upper part, if you want your crop top to have a zipper at the back, that means you'll be needing a zipper. So for the thumbnail, the crop top has a zipper, but for me, I want to convert the crop top not to have a zipper. So I'll be making the neckline more wider than that of the thumbnail for it to be able to pass through our head. So basically, this is the only material that I'll be making use of: 3 yards of Ankara and about 1 yard or half yard of elastic band. So let's get started with this tutorial. So the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to fold my fabric, and I'll be folding with my round tie measurement divided by 2. I'm working with a round tie of 26. 26 divided by 2 is 13 inches. So I'm going to be folding with 13 inches for us to be able to cut our front piece for the palazzo. So basically at this point, I was done cutting out the fabric that I told you. And this fabric you see over here is on fold, as you can see. And I folded with my round tie measurement divided by 2 inches. I also went ahead to fold it. Then after that, make sure that your round tie measurement is the tie that is very close to your crotch depth, that upper part. That should be the right place for you to measure. So after folding my fabric, let's just go ahead and impute the measurements that I will be making use of for this dress. Now remember that this pant will be having a band, a 2-inch band. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2 inch away from these pieces that we are working with, placing my tape 2 inch away. Now I want to get the full length of this pant. I'm working with the full length of 45 inches. So I have about 47 inches here, which means I'll be making use of everything I have here. So after that, let's go ahead and input our vertical measurement. Now, still your tape rule being at the tip of your fabric, we are going to be marking our hip length. So I'm working with the hip length of 10 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 10 inches. Now I'll go ahead and mark my crotch depth. Usually my crotch depth is usually 2 inch away from my hip length, which is 12 inches. But since we are making a palazzo, we wouldn't want it to be too tight. So I'll go ahead and add extra 1 inch to it, making it 13 inches instead of 12 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 13 inches. Now the next measurement to be needed here is our thigh measurement. So for your thigh measurement, just go ahead and add 2 inch below your crotch depth. So for me, since I have 13 here as my crotch depth, my thigh length will be 15 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 15 inches. So after marking the lines, this is what we have here. This line here will be serving as our waistline. This is our hip length. This is our crotch line, and this is our thigh length. I don't know if you can see. So let's just go ahead and start imputing the measurement. So on the hip length, I'm going to go ahead and divide my round hip measurement into 4. I'm working with the round hip of 42 inches. 42 inches divided by 4 is 10.5. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 10.5 at our hip length, just as you can see. Now for the purpose of making this to be a little bit free on us, I will be adding about half of an inch to the round hip measurement that I marked. Now you can choose to add 1 inch to it depending on how loose or free you want yours to be. So for me, I just added only half of an inch. So that will make it 11 inches in total. I don't know if you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and impute the 11 inches at our waistline too, just like you see me do here. I'll also go ahead and impute it on our crotch depth line. So I'm imputing 11 inches here. So after that, I'm going to go ahead and connect the lines together. After connecting the lines, this is what we have. I don't know if you can see. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do right now is to measure what I have, starting from this point that I have my hip measurement divided by 4 all the way down to this full measurement you have here. So I have about 2.5 inches. So if your thigh measurement is not up to 26 or 28, just make sure that you add extra 1 inch while folding your fabric. It's just constant for everyone. Some people, their tie is not up to 26 or 28, but whatever tie it is and it is not up to 26, just add extra 1 inch while folding your fabric. So it's not going to alter any difference. It's just going to be making your crotch depth to come out very nice. So since mine is up to 2.5 inches here, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to get the center point of this place. From this center point I have here, I'm going to be going up by 1 inch. Now you can choose to do half of an inch or less. So I went up at this center point by 1 inch. Now this is a guide for us to get a very smooth crotch depth. So after that, I'll be connecting from this point all the way into this line, then from this point all the way back into this hip measurement that we have. So after connecting it, this is what we have. As you can see, our crunch line is looking so neat. Now the next thing we are going to go ahead and do is to work on our tie measurement. So on the tie length, what I'm going to go ahead and do first of all is to measure from what I have at this point all the way down. Now remember we have 13 inches. I don't know if you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and divide 13 inches into two. So 13 inches into 2 is 6.5 inches. So from that point or from any point, since it's going to be at the center, I'm going to go ahead and mark 6.5 inches, just like you see me do over here. I don't know if it is visible. Now I'm going to go ahead and extend that center point that I marked at my hip length all the way down to my thigh length this way. I don't know if you can see. Now, after that, the next thing we are going to go ahead and do right now is to impute our thigh measurement into 4. So my thigh measurement divided by 4, I'm working with a round thigh of 26. Dividing it by 4 is 6.5 inches. So this center point will be serving as a guard. I'm going to be marking 6.5 inches, just like you see me do over here, at our thigh length, outward this way and towards our crotch side. Just go ahead and impute what you have at yours. So this is what we have here. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to mend this. I don't want this to be a full palazzo, like too wide. So I'm going to be needing my knee length at this point. So the knee length that I'm working with is the knee length of 25 inches. So I'm going to be subtracting 2 inches just like we did earlier. And I'm going to go ahead and mark 25 inches. So at this point, after marking 25 inches for my knee length, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to divide this trouser block we have here into two. So remember we have 13 here. 13 into 2 is 6.5. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 6.5 at this point, just as you can see. So what I'm going to go ahead and do right now is to come in at this point. This point you have here, you can choose to come in by 1 inch or 1.5. So for me to modify it a little bit, I'm going to be doing 1.5 instead. So I'm going to be coming in on 1.5 on both sides. I'll also go ahead and mark that from our full length, coming by 1.5. So after that, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do at this point is to connect this 1.5 that I marked at our knee line all the way down to the full line this way. I'll also go ahead and do the same thing for this other side. So after that, as you can see, our palazzo pant is reducing a little bit. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is to connect these points together. Now, this point that we marked at our thigh length, I'm going to go ahead and connect it outwards this way for you to blend into this line. I don't know if you see what I did. Just blend it into that line. Then afterwards, just go ahead and connect that half of an inch or this line we marked here into the 1.5 inch line that we saw earlier. Now, after connecting it, this is what we have. So over to this point that we have our crotch depth, I'm going to go ahead and connect from this point first into that line that we have here, just like you see. So after that, I'm now going to go ahead and connect from this point all the way into that crotch depth line, into the knee length that we have. So basically, after marking it, this is what we have. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do at this point is to cut this out. After cutting this out, this is what we have. As you can see, this effect made our palazzo not to be too wide, but if you wanted yours to be that wide, you could have just cut after the process we did at this tie length. So just cut from that process, but this is what I want to get at the end of the day. So the next thing we are going to go ahead and do, since we already have our two piece for the front palazzo, we are going to be folding our fabric again into two for us to cut the back piece. But this time around, the folding should be much bigger than the 13 inches we folded with earlier. So since we folded with 13 inches for the front piece, we are going to be adding extra 6 inches to the folding of the back piece, making it 19 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and fold it. So basically at this point, I was not folding my fabric into two for the back piece that we are going to work on, as you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and bring the front piece that we cut out earlier and place it directly on this two folded piece that we have here. Now at this point, you would want to make sure that you leave about 1 inch of space from the waistline. So just leave about 1 inch of space before placing your front piece. That's to say that the waistline should not be equal. So I have 1 inch here. Now I'm going to go ahead and arrange the other side. So after that, the next thing we are going to go ahead and do right now is to work on the crotch depth of the back piece. So I'm going to go ahead and use this front line that we already marked on our crotch depth as a guide. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is to extend it this way. So after that, I'm going to go ahead and measure in 3 inches for the crotch depth. So I have up to 3 inches here. That was why I say you should add extra 3 inches to your back folding. So I have 3 inches at this point. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is to mark the 1 inch that we already measured at this waistline, as you can see. Now I'm going to go ahead and measure 1 inch at our at our hip at our hip length. I'm going to go in by 1 inch or 1.5 inch, depending on how free you want yours to be. So since this palazzo is not going to be having a zipper, there's no need of adjusting the 1 inch all the way down to the waistline. Now what I'm going to go ahead and do is to connect from this point that I marked this 1 inch first into this crotch depth line. So after connecting it, this is what we have. Now the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to blend from this 1 inch into this folded piece of our back piece. So just watch closely what I'm doing. So after blending it in, this is what we have. I don't know if you can see. I did not give the space of the 1 inch outward at this point. So after that, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to come over to this point. We have our thigh measurement. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 2 inches from this point all the way down to the full length of this pant regarding to this side. So from the crotch depth, to just go ahead and connect it this way. So I'm going to go ahead and mark 2 inches from this point all the way down to the full length. After marking the 2 inches, I also went ahead to connect it just like you see me do over here. So over to the waistline, at this point that we have the 1 inch away from the front piece, I'm going to be slanting this 1 inch into this line that you see over here. Now it should be in a slanted way, just as you can see me do here, just like the way you do for your normal black trousers. So I slanted from that 1 inch into this line. So for the joining of the sides, remember we did not add any allowance to the front piece. We are just going to be adding allowance to the back piece alone. So at this back piece, starting from this front piece we cut out, I'm going to go ahead and measure 1 inch all the way down to the full length. Now this 1 inch is optional. You can choose to add extra inches to your palazzo pants, but just know that whatever thing you add is what you're going to be shaping with. So for me, it's 1 inch all the way down. At this point, I was basically done adding the 1 inch to the sides. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to cut out this back piece that we have here. This point, after cutting out both the back piece, this is what we have. I don't know if it is visible enough. So for the back piece, I'm just going to go ahead and bring these two front pieces that you see over here. So I'm going to be stitching from the waist area all the way down to this crotch depth with 1/2 inch for both the front piece and the back piece. So the two front piece stitch from the waist area into the crotch depth line, and the two back piece stitch from the area through the crotch depth line with 1/2 inch. So for the crop top of this two piece that we are making, I went ahead to fold my fabric into 4, as you can see. So this is it, it's into 4, and my measurement will be from this two closed folded edge and not from this part that has an opening. So I went ahead to fold with my shoulder measurement divided by 2. My shoulder measurement is 16 inches, divided by 2 is 8 inches. So I also added my sleeve length to the folding. My sleeve length is 10 inches, so I folded with 18 inches. My fabric is 18 inches on fold, just as you can see. So from this folded edge, I'm going to go ahead and impute my shoulder line. So my shoulder length is 18 inches. That's my shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2 is 18 inches. So from the point that I marked 8 inches, sorry, not 18, I went ahead to impute my sleeve length, which is 10 inches, exactly what I have here, and I have about 1/2 inch for folding the down part. So for the full length of this top, now this crop top, if you notice, it covered the belly button a little bit. So you shouldn't be making use of your shoulder to waist length, but rather you should be making use of your shoulder to your tummy length. So my tummy length is 20 inches. So I went ahead to add extra 1 inch for the folding of the down part, making it 21 inches. So after that, from the shoulder, I'm going to go ahead and impute my bust length, because that's the only measurement to be needing. My bust length is 10 inches. So I went ahead to mark 10 inches at this point. So from the shoulder line, I'm going to be working with the neck width of 3 inches. Now for the depth, since we are cutting the front piece and the back piece together, I'll first of all mark the back depth, which is 2 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and connect it for us to get our neck curve. So for the front neckline, I want it to be a V neckline since I'm not going to be adding a zipper to it. But if you want yours to be as high as that of the one on the thumbnail, just go ahead and cut your back piece with a zipper allowance so that it will be able to pass through your head. If not, you won't be able to wear it. So since I don't want to add a zipper, I want my neck to be a V shaped. I'm still going to come down at this point by 6 inches, just as you can see. So at this point, I have 6 inches. I'm going to be connecting it to the V shape all the way down to the neck width that we have here, just like you see me do. So after that, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to come over to this sleeve point that you see over here. I'm going to go ahead and come down by 1 inch. Now this is for our shoulder slope, and we'll be connecting the 1 inch all the way down to this neck width that we have here in a slanted way, just like you see me do over here. Now after that, I'll go ahead and measure my round arm sleeve. So since this is a kind of a free crop top, you wouldn't want it to be tight. I measured mine was 14 inches. So 14 inches divided by 2 is 7 inches. So from this point that we marked 1 inch, I'm going to be coming down by 7.5 inches. Now the half inches is for stitching down. So I came down by 7.5 inches. Now at this point, I have my bust point. I'm going to divide my round bust measurement into 4, and my round bust is 36. 36 into 4 is 9 inches. So from this folded edge, I'll go in and mark 9 inches. So after the 9 inches, I want to be adding extra inches to it for ease. So I'm going to be adding extra 3 inches to it for both ease and stitching allowance. I might sew with 1 inch and leave 2 inches for ease. So after that, I'm going to connect from this round sleeve measurement that I marked here all the way into this line that you see over here. And I'm going to go ahead and extend it all the way down to the full length of this top that we are making. I don't know if it is visible enough. So after that, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to cut this out. So for the neckline, I'll be cutting this 2 inch first before we can separate the back and cut the front neckline. So basically at this point, after cutting it out, this is what I have. Now I also went ahead to leave about half of an inch at the shoulder for joining the shoulder. So after cutting the neckline of the 2 inch, I'm going to go ahead and separate the inner piece for us to cut the front neckline. So basically at this point, I've separated the back piece away from the front piece. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do at this point is to mark the neckline for the front piece. So I'm going to be cutting these 6 inches that we marked earlier, just like you see me do over here. So basically after that, our front neckline is ready. So let me open it up and show you what it looks like. So basically this is what we have here. Now the thing we are going to do for this crop top that we are making now is to go ahead and use a bias. You can use a bias or you facing depending on what you want. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and just fold it and fold the back neckline, fold the front neckline. I'm going to fold it. You can use a bias or a facing, just like I said. Then after that, after folding the neckline, I'll place it right side facing each other this way. And I'll go ahead and join the shoulders with the half of an inch stitching allowance that we left. I'll also join the sides with 1 inch or half inch, depending on what you want to work with. Then I'll go ahead and fold the full length and also fold the sleeve. So basically, that is what we are going to be doing for this crop top that we have here. So basically, at this point, I was done stitching the crop top of this 2 piece that we are making. So this is what I have. I worked on the neck area, joined the shoulders and the side, folded the sleeve and also the full length of this top, and this is what we have. As you can see, our top is ready. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold this aside and place it so that we can go ahead and stitch our palazzo pants. So for the palazzo pants too, I went ahead to join from the shoulder to the crotch area, just like I showed you earlier, and this is what it is looking like. I don't know if you can see it. So this is what the front piece is also looking like. So after that, let's go ahead and work on the pocket area of this front piece. So basically, this is our front piece. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold this into 2, just as you can see me do here. So from the sides that you see over here, I'm going to be coming in by 3 inch, just like you see me do here. So I marked 3 inch at this point. So from that point at the waist area, I'm going to be marking 8 inches. So remember, we have a waistband already. So for the pocket, you're not going to be subtracting any 2 inch away from the waistband. Just take your measurement directly from here. So I'm just going to go ahead and mark 8 inches from the waistline, and this is what we have. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it a little curve, depending on how you want your pocket to be. So for me, this is it. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out that piece, just like you see over here. So after cutting it out, this is what we have. As you can see, let's go ahead and cut the pieces for the side pockets. So for the pocket pieces, I went ahead to cut this out, and I have about 4 pieces here in total. I have about 4 different pieces here. So for the length of these pieces, I have the length of 11 inches and the width is 7 inches. So if you have a material still left, you can choose to do more of the width. Now I'm trying to economize my material because it's almost finished. So this is what I have left and I have to work with it. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring one piece of the piece that we cut out and bring our pants, just like you see me do over here. Okay, let's do two pieces together so that it would save us time. So I placed it right side facing each other this way. So I'm going to go ahead and place this part that we had to cut out earlier directly on this piece we have here. I don't know if you can see. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the sides for it to be equal, just like you see me do over here. So after that, the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do, this is what I have left. So I'm just trying to show you how to fix the pockets. But if you have much material, just increase the width of your own pocket. So this pocket that we cut out the sides being equal, I'm going to place it this way, right side facing each other, just like you see me do over here. So I'm going to go ahead and use about half of an inch to join, starting from this waist area all the way to this curvy part that we have here. And I'll also go ahead and top stitch on it. So basically at this point, I was done attaching the side pocket, just like I showed you. I also went ahead to top stitch on it. So I'm just going to go ahead and flip this inward this way, just like you see me do here. So after flipping it inward, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to the wrong side for us to attach the other pieces to it. So after flipping it, this is what the wrong side of it looks like. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring another piece and place it directly on here. So just make sure that the right side of any piece that you're bringing is facing outward this way. So I'm just going to go ahead and place it this way, making sure that the sides are equal, just like you see me do over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and pin this together. So after pinning it this way, I'm still going to go ahead and place this other piece that you see here, making sure that the right side is facing outward this way. And also the sides are equal, just like you see me do over here. Now I'm also going to go ahead and pin the sides, the pieces of the pocket to the pieces of the pocket. Don't pin it directly on the fabric. So after pinning it down, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to the right side for me to show you what it looks like. So bringing it over to the right side, you should be having something like this at the end of the day. Now I know that this pocket is not going to be that wide, so I'm just doing it to show you what to do when you're working with your woven fabric. So this is what we have. Now make sure that this material that we placed inward, that is facing outward here, is up to the 3 inches we removed earlier. If it is not, just go ahead and adjust it for it to be up to that 3 inches that we cut out earlier. So this is what mine looks like. So I'm just going to go ahead and go over to the sewing machine, flip it over back to the wrong side this way. Now I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine. I'll be joining these two pocket pieces that I pinned down earlier with half of an inch all the way down to this point, and also half of an inch all the way down to this point. And also when I come over to the waist area, I'm going to be using about quarter of an inch to stitch it down for it to remain the way it is. I'll also go ahead and do the same thing for this other side of the pocket. At this point, I was done stitching the sides together, just as you can see. So let me flip it over to the right side for you to see what it looks like. So this is what we have here. Our pocket is already ready. So I'm going to go ahead and bring our back piece of the pants because we are going to be stitching the sides together. So I'm going to go ahead and place the waist together just like you see me do over here. Now, if you notice, the back piece is a little bit wider than the front piece. So while shaping this, just make sure that you make the sides to be equal. So the first place we are going to join is the crotch depth to the crotch depth. So just go over and make sure that the sides are aligning this way. So I'm going to be using about half of an inch to stitch from this center part all the way down to the full length. Then half of an inch from this center part down to this other side. Then after that, I'll go over to the sides. Drag the back to be equal with the front piece this way. So I'm going to be joining the sides with 1 inch from the waist all the way down to the full length. And I'll also go ahead and do the same thing for this other side of our pant. So basically at this point, I was done joining the crotch area and also the sides of our pants. So this is what it is looking like. As you can see, this is our pocket side. So the next thing we are going to go ahead and do right now is to work on the waist area for the band and the elastic. So I'm going to be measuring around this waist that we have here. Now I went ahead to turn my fabric over to the right side. So I'll be measuring from the sides to the sides to get the round circumference of the waist that we have here. So let's go ahead and measure it. After measuring the round waist, I have 40 inches here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out a band of 40 inches by length, and the width of the band will be 2 inches on fold. So basically, I went ahead to cut out the band. This is 41 inches instead of 40 inches by length. I went ahead to add 1 inch to the sides. So I have 41 inches here in total instead of 40 inches. So for the width, remember our band is 2 inch, but I did 2.5 inches because we're using half of an inch to stitch this band directly to the main pants. And after that, we'll be left with 2 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up since it is on fold. So I'm going to go ahead and place this band right side facing each other this way. Now the 1 inch that we added to the extra length of this band, I'm going to be using half of an inch to join it together. Now when I sew half of an inch on this spot and half of an inch on the other spot, I'll be left with the 40 inches by length. So I'm going to be using half of an inch to join from this point all the way down to this other point. So basically at this point, I was done joining the sides just like I showed you earlier with half of an inch. Now I'm going to go ahead and flip this over to the right side and also fold it into two just like we folded it earlier. So after folding it into two, this is what we have. As you can see, our band is looking all neat. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring our pant piece to the table so that we can go ahead and join the band to it. So this is the pant piece that we have here, and this is the waist area. The waist area here. So the next thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to place this band into this point. Now make sure that this band, this open edges are facing outwards this way. So it's just like wearing your waist pant into the band, just like you see me do over here. So at the end of the day, you should be having something that looks like this. I don't know if you can see. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to the sewing machine. I'll be using half of an inch to join these two open mouth of our band and the main piece. I'll be using half of an inch to join it all the way around the pants of this our band. At this point, I was done attaching the band to our pants just like you see over here. Now I didn't stitch this band all the way down to the end. I left about half of an inch opening to the sides. I don't know if you can see. I stitched, then stitched and left about 1 inch at this point. I did not stitch this point. If you notice, it is open at this point. I don't know if you can see. So from this point that I have an opening, I'm going to go ahead and insert my elastic band to it. So this elastic band I have here is my round waist circumference, which is 32 inches. I subtracted 5 inches away from it and I measured what I have left, and this is the length of the band here. I'm just going to go ahead and use my safety pin and I'll insert it at the edge of one part, and I'll be passing this elastic band through the opening we have at the waist area. So while passing your elastic band through this, just make sure you hold on to this edge part because you don't want it to slip into this. So just hold it on and then pass it all the way around to your waist. So after passing the elastic out through the other parts, I'm just going to go ahead and remove the safety pin just like you see me do over here. So I'm going to go ahead and place this elastic band we have here this way, making sure that the sides are equal. Now I'm going to go back to the sewing machine and use about half of an inch to stitch these two bands down. So basically at this point, I was just stitching down the bands together. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag the band inward to our waist area, just like you see me do over here. So this is what it is looking like. Now I'm going to go back to the opening that we have at that point that we inserted it, and I'm going to be closing it down. I'm going to be stitching it down the way I stitched the band down to it. But just be careful so as not to stitch the band together to it. So just shift the band inward and use the half of an inch and stitch it all close. And I'll now go ahead and go over to the full length of this pant, and I'll be folding the down part with about half of an inch. And that basically will be the end of this two-piece tutorial. Please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also turn on your notification bell to be notified whenever we post a new video. See you in our next video. Bye.